Hello, welcome to the Melvin podcast, where we talk about mysteries and unusual things. Today, it's Nicole's turn.
Hi!
My name's Tori, and she's going to be telling me something weird. I have hardly anything. I know one name that she was trying to pronounce over there, and that's it.
Yeah,
so.
I had to Google how I pronounce this name because I do this thing where I'll read it and I'll pronounce it like a certain way in my head, and I get caught on this all the time. And then I'll say the word out loud, and someone's like, "That's not how you say that. It's pronounced like this." And I'm like, "I'm so dumb."
Hey, I have a speech impediment, so I say things wrong all the time. I definitely cannot judge you.
But this is something that it's kind of like a viral thing that went around on Tumblr. That's how I heard about it. Was one of those like really long Tumblr posts.
Tumblr.
Yeah, back in the decent days of Tumblr. I don't think so. I think the only people that are on Tumblr are the people that are like what I call chronically online. You know, where they're like, I don't have any issue with like if you are in the woke crowd or anything, but whenever like that's all that you do and that's all that you talk about and you don't go outside and touch grass.
Got you.
That's just what I think of. If you are on Tumblr and you go outside and touch grass and you have a healthy lifestyle, then I'm very happy for you. It's just ever since I think it was Yahoo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Yahoo bought Tumblr. It just went downhill after that because Yahoo decided to add a bunch of like policies and stuff that changed how the website works.
Oh. Okay, got you.
Yeah, but that's how I heard about it, was from the art community on Tumblr. And what we're talking about today is the drama between British sculptor Anish Kapoor and British painter Stuart Semple. So,
where are they from again? Okay, so you said Stuart is British and Anish is...
Anish is also British, but he was born in India, so he's technically British Indian.
Okay, got you.
So I think he has like a citizenship in both, and if not, he has like some kind of visa. I don't know what the equivalent of a visa is for like the UK, but I know that he's British Indian.
Okay.
So yeah. Cool. So I'm gonna start out about Anish Kapoor because he's kind of the villain in this story based on my perspective. You can come up with your own opinion, but I'm just saying. So he was born Sir Anish Mikhail Kapoor, and he was born the 12th of March, 1954. He is a British Indian sculptor, and he focuses on installations and concepts. So, like, installations for, like, museums are where you hire the artist to create, like, a semi-permanent, like, thing in there. So like if you hire someone to make an installation for like your lobby, it's gonna stay there for years. It's not like regular artwork where you kind of buy it and then you rotate it out to keep interest.
So this is kind of like a decor piece?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it says concepts because his sculptures they make you think, and they have a very like kind of ethereal worldview, if that makes sense. He kind of makes you want to think in his pieces. I personally think his pieces are interesting. I just, from a personal perspective, wish he was a nicer human.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm intrigued.
This is just from my perspective. If you really like his stuff, then you're welcome to have your own perspective.
Well, now I want to look at his stuff.
His known public sculptures are Cloudgate, also known as the Bean sculpture that I think is in Chicago.
Oh,
yes.
I did not know. Okay, I think I now know where this is going.
Yep. He made the Bean, another one called Sky Mirror, and one called Tempanos, which we'll put little pictures up so you know what I'm talking about. I mainly know about the Bean because this is where this whole story comes from, is making fun of the Bean.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I know this. And the fact that I know something of this means it made its way around.
Oh, yeah.
I am not an online person.
Nah. One of these days, we'll link her Pinterest, and y'all can like give her all the Pinterest information, because
the only thing
she sends me so many things on Pinterest.
So many boards. Anyway.
But in 2014, this is kind of like what the whole story centers around. Kapoor began working with a substance called Vantablack. So Vantablack is believed to be one of the least reflective substances known, which is why it looks like completely pitch black to the eye. Because like this, for example, you can see the shine coming off of it because it doesn't absorb the light. It's reflecting it because it has like a shiny coat on it.
Right.
But like if this were painted with Vantablack, it would not shine at all. It would just look like a void. Kind of like my cat. My cat, all her pictures are just eyeballs. It's adorable.
That is true. You just kind of look right through her. It's just a hole.
But the substance, I had to do a lot of like switching between articles for this because I wanted to be able to explain what exactly it is, because a lot of the articles I saw, they were just like, it's just the blackest black. And I'm like, but why is it so dark? So Vantablack S-VIS, it's a sprayable paint, and it's known as the Blackest Black, and it's been exclusively licensed to Anish Kapoor's studio for artistic use, meaning nobody else can use it at all.
So how much did he pay for that? Do you know?
I couldn't find that information anywhere because I was curious as well.
Like,
but
that's gotta be a high price.
Yeah, which, I don't. So art is weird because it's like, on one hand, I wish everything was accessible, but that would be unrealistic. But I feel like if you have the money to use super expensive materials, you should be allowed to at least pay that money to use said materials if you want to and have the means to do so. But with that license, he essentially said no one else can use it.
So he's copyrighted a color?
Yeah, he copyrighted that specific black
but yet nobody
substance.
Can buy it. Like, nobody can use it and credit him for it.
No, it's exclusively licensed to him.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a fabric? I could be absolutely wrong. Isn't there a fabric that was created to be that kind of black as well?
I think so. I think it uses the same technique that the Vantablack uses. Because I looked it up. Vantablack, the reason why it's so like non-reflective is it's made of microscopic stems of carbon, and they are 300 times as tall as they are wide. Which kind of makes me laugh because I thought about it and I'm like, that's kind of like cat's fur, and maybe that's why black cats don't photograph very easily because their fur isn't as reflective. So 99.6% of all light gets trapped in this network of really like long skinny stems in the paint, so it has no surface area to reflect off of.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's
That's
really
cool,
right?
So who invented, like who found out about this? Was this a group project or?
It was created with military research. Let me see. Yeah, scientific and military use because of its masking ability, because they're going to use it on like fighter jets and stealth aircraft.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
And so I'm guessing he just heard about it.
How did he get a hold of this?
That's a good question. I honestly don't
military?
know. I know that he had like he's been a famous sculptor for a while, so maybe he just had some friends that were in the government, because he gets commissioned like the bean sculpture Cloudgate. He got commissioned basically by the city to put that up there.
Okay.
So he probably has like political friends that might have slipped out that, hey, we got this stuff. You want to use it?
Interesting. I guess I don't know different militaries in different countries. I only know my own.
I barely know my own. Like, whenever my dad was in the army, and he'll tell me army stories and try to tell me how that stuff works, and I'm like, and I'm like, I don't know.
It's like, I don't know any of that. Okay. So I don't know. I just feel like military stuff is so like top secret. Like, you have the clearance, right? Like, it's only certain people can know about it. Kind of feels.
But if you're rich, then
yeah. But even then, like, I know that some of them, even though they supplied like the money for it, and you want to know what it's for, like, you'll have a vague, maybe like a very vague told on what it is, but you won't actually know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like,
maybe
did they ditch the idea? Is that what it was? Like,
I think they ended up ditching it. I didn't find anything on what they did with it after that. I just know that once people had started hearing about it, they were upset with him just because he basically copyrighted it so that artists can't use it. Because it just says that it's licensed to him for artistic use. So it could be being used in military things, and they just aren't going to release that to the public.
You know, that's true. Okay. I just don't know
Because
how.
it did specify when
military.
I read about it that it keeps saying artistic use, which is so weird.
So
Basically,
you could
someone's...
use it in clothing then, or would furniture count as artistic? Would clothing count as artistic? Because
See,
fashion designers.
That's where you have to argue if you're using it for artistic or architectural or whatever. That's where you have to argue what makes art art, and that is something that is
I'm sorry.
constantly going to be debated.
My apologies. Anyway.
Everyone cancel Tori.
I'm sorry. I forgot to put my phone on airplane mode. Wait, I'm so sorry. Okay, so
No, you're good.
the black of whether or not being used in artistic like you have to argue whether or not it's artistic.
Yeah, because I think that's where lawyers, whenever they're arguing about whether you can use it or not, that's where it would become like a weird gray area, because I guarantee you his lawyers would find some way to argue that what you're doing is artistic. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of things that are in museums that I personally don't necessarily think are art that are in art museums. Like, I remember when I was in AP art, me and my friends went to the Dallas Art Museum, and there was a rock that was polished. It was like this big. It was polished and shaped like an egg, and it was called New Beginnings. And it had like a price tag on there that it was like, you know, because they sometimes show how much they bought them for if it's a new thing. They bought this egg for $50,000, and me and my friend had like an existential crisis because I was like, maybe if I had just polished rocks and called them really abstract names, I'd be rich.
I mean, then can't you just say that about the whole rock collections of the geodes and stuff like that? Like, that's considered...
You can argue that anything is art if you can come up with a reason for it, and that's in a way
this is stupid for him to be putting it down as artistic. That's just a very... Well, you know what? It's actually clever on him. You know what? Good loophole there, sir.
Good loophole, but a great way to tick off everyone in the art community, because you're effectively saying, this is mine and you can't have it. He even answered people's questions.
I'm an awful human being. I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
I forgot I had an alarm. For no reason. Anyway, continue.
Oh my gosh. But they asked him why he wanted to make it exclusive, because, you know, as soon as people started hearing about it, a bunch of, like, some of the more popular artists were kind of like, what the heck, man? And he said, why exclusive? Because it's a collaboration. Because I am wanting to push them to a certain use for it. So basically, I guess the military or whoever created this material, it didn't specify what he meant by them when I found the quote. But basically, he's saying, well, I had a vision, so I should be the one that carries out this vision. Yeah, this is why I have issues when it comes to, like, really famous artists sometimes, is because I'll see interviews with them, and I understand you have, like, a really big, like, perspective on the world, and I applaud that, but, you know, a slice of humble pie goes a really long way, in my opinion. So if you inflate yourself and be like, I'm so profound and no one else has my artistic eye, then I'm like, okay, I don't want to read about you anymore, I'm good.
Isn't art supposed to be like yourself reflecting or presenting something that the way that you think and just putting it out into the world kind of thing? Like, that's what's art?
Yes, that's whenever you look at, like, the basis of art, that's what it's supposed to be. That's why whenever, like, you're drawing stuff, like in art classes, your art teacher will sometimes be like, you're just copying everyone else, because they want you to put something of yourself into your creation. So basically, he's like, well, I'm so profound that this needs to just be mine because I have the vision for it.
So you're essentially making it to where you block any other artist from expressing their their visions.
Yep.
Because this could have been the thing that really hit their artwork. Like, this could have been something that really, like, represented what they were trying to do. And you just said, nope.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think he's the villain in this story. But it gets so funny. It gets so funny.
Okay. I don't know. The more you go into the art things, I feel like you need to have, like, a happy art story, or else I'm just going to lose all faith in anything art. And anytime someone says they're an artist, I'm going to be like, oh, or something. I don't want to do that because I know there's other good artists.
I feel like this one turns wholesome just because of all the backlash from the art community. Because artists get petty, and I kind of love it in a way, even though I really shouldn't. But I'm just saying, it was great. Okay, so artists Christian Furr and Stuart Semple criticize Kapoor for what they believe is appropriation of a unique material to the exclusion of others.
Okay, yeah.
Which I have the same perspective. And Stuart Semple, he decided to develop a pigment that's called the Pinkest Pink, and he specifically made it available to everyone on his website except Anish Kapoor and everyone affiliated with him. And you can go on his website, and I will put his website like on a thirds thing. It's culturehustle.com, and literally every time you scroll down there, it's just nothing but roasting Anish Kapoor.
That's so funny. So basically anyone within his that's able to use the blackest of the black is not able to use the pinkest of the pinks.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And you have to click a disclaimer that says that you are not affiliated with Anish Kapoor. You are not Anish Kapoor. To your knowledge, this paint that you're buying is not going to make it into the hands of Anish Kapoor before you can buy it. And it's legally binding.
Wow. Mm-hmm. He legally binded. That is impressive.
Right.
Yeah. I guess applaud.
Right?
Like, that should be applauded.
Like, it's awesome. So, let's see. I think
that is some petty stuff, though.
So, I do want to tell you a little bit about Stuart Semple before I get into more stuff that he ended up doing.
Please tell me about this man.
So, his name was, I'm so sorry, is Stuart Buchanan Semple. He was born the 12th of September in 1980. He is a British artist who creates paintings, sculptures, and is known for his activism in the art community. Like, for example, right now he has an art thing on his website that's dedicated to the gay men that can't donate blood right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a paint that's called, like, I should have remembered what the paint's called, but it's a bright red paint. It's called, like, Bad Blood or something like that. And it's just in memoriam of the people that wanted to donate blood, but they couldn't just because they were gay.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice.
Right? Like, and I'm like, regardless of what your opinion is, it's definitely, he makes statements
It's a jester.
Right.
For sure.
But he's known for his activism, and what else did I have on him? He's kind of a petty person, and I love it. Like, he uses his paints and, like, what he releases as a form of activism. Because every time he releases paints on his website, he makes a point to be like, well, we can't have the blackest black, so this is the bluest blue, or this is the pinkest pink, or whatever, so that he can't have that. So he can just keep his blackest black, and we all in the world get the pinkest pink, or whatever pigment he comes up with next.
So now it's like his goal is to make the truest color of every color.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I don't know if that can be achieved, but you know what? You go for it.
Mm-hmm. So whenever Semple created the pigment, the Pinkest Pink, he did it more of as a like performance art piece, rather than trying to make money off of it. And he got really surprised by how much attention it received. When he released the paint, they started creating memes on Tumblr of people making, like, you know how they had that time when Facebook events, they would try to make fake Facebook events. They made things like, let's go paint the bean the pinkest pink. Let's go spray paint the bean with the blackest black. Isn't
that why they now have it like
roped
like a security
Yeah.
on it now.
I'm pretty sure that's why they have it roped off, which is hilarious.
He got surprised at how many people share his pettiness.
Right.
I mean, I kind of share into it, and I'm not, like, fully into the community.
Right.
I'm on your side, man.
So in December of 2016, Kapoor managed to obtain some of the Pink is Pink from an affiliate of his, and he posted a picture of his middle finger on Instagram, which had been dipped in the pink pigment. And so then Semple created a pigment called Diamond Dust, which is like, it's like the glitteriest glitter or something like that, but it's made out of glass shards. So you can't dip your fingers in it, and you have to use gloves.
He thinks of everything.
And this is also interesting because we're talking about how the Blackest Black like absorbs pigments and stuff, or light, I should say, not pigments. But the reason why the glass dust works so well and it really is super reflective is because it's purposefully like ground up into different sized pieces, which means it has more surface area that it reflects light off of, so it really does make it like super glittery.
So it's the opposite of the black pigment.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. No,
Right.
that is amazing. I love that.
Right?
I
thought it was
that you
so
have to
cool
have
when I
gloves,
looked that
too.
up.
That's
Mhm.
perfect.
It even says on there, it's like, we advise that you use gloves when handling this material. Like, that's amazing.
Like,
Like, you can't
this is glass.
you can't stick your finger in this.
It's like, go ahead, try it.
Go for it.
I
Go
dare
for
you.
it.
I'm just advising you so I don't get sued. But by all means, do it. Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, just to clarify on these people's ages. So, Anish, right?
Mhm.
You said 54, right?
1954.
So he's like in his 70s,
Yeah.
2014?
He would probably be in his 60s in 2014.
Okay,
But he'd be in his
60s?
70s today.
Okay, so around his 60s, and so then Stuart is around like his 30s, 40s?
Yeah, right now he'd be in his 40s, but around when this was all happening, he was in his 30s. So it's a younger guy trolling the heck out of an older guy.
Wow. Well, the fact that this older man, okay, old people, man, I love them, okay? But they made me want to pull my hair out. It's a thing, because it's either, one, they're like the sweetest thing, and they've seen their days, right? Like, they have a lot of wisdom, and they can tell you a lot of stories, and you can learn a lot from them. Like, these are your elders. You should respect them. But then you also have those older fellas and
That are stuck
females
in their ways
that
and
are
stubborn.
so stubborn, so much like, I know what's better, tries to use the whole like, I'm your elder so you must listen to me kind of mentality, and I cannot stand it. I'm like, you are older, so you shouldn't be rubbing this in people's faces, because you should know better.
Right. Yeah.
This man upsets me because of it, because he is the older person and he's doing these things. Oh my,
That's why
gives me flashbacks to the last story you told me.
Right. Which is coincidence, kind of a coincidence that's another older person that's being the stubborn one in this case.
This is why you had the whole okay boomer thing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
So Semple did create his own version of black. He called his first edition of it Black 2.0, and he now has a Black 3.0, which they look nearly identical to Vanta Black to the human eye, even though they're acrylic paints. And they are still out of Anish Kapoor's hands. I'm a professional. I have a notebook.
Notebooks are great.
Notebooks are amazing. So Christian Furr was quoted as saying that he had, quote, never heard of an artist monopolizing a material. All the best artists have had a thing for pure black. Turner, Manet, Goya, this black is like dynamite in the art world. We should be able to use it. It isn't right that it belongs to one man.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, because like, I feel like black is the color most used. And I feel like getting like that dark black, almost like a black hole look, has been the goal for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I would agree.
And Semple is quoted as saying, "We all remember kids at school who wouldn't share their coloring pencils, but then they ended up on their own with no friends. It's cool. Anish can have his black, but the rest of us will be playing with the rainbow." It's a good
it's
quote.
good. That is good because it's kind of like, it's really not all that petty. It's like, it's got a little bit of like sass in it, right? But it's just like, it's like, all right, fine. You can have that color. That's all fine. We'll just have all these other ones. Like, and we just won't share it with you. Because that's what you want us to treat you how you treat us, then this is what it is. Like, see how it feels? It doesn't feel great, does it? I don't know. Anish is probably like very stubborn from what I have heard of this man. So he's probably like, whatever, I have that black is black.
Right.
Like,
And I went on his website and I got some more research on it. So the quote that it literally says on the website whenever you're checking out is, quote, "You are not Anish Kapoor. You are in no way affiliated with Anish Kapoor. You are not purchasing this item on behalf of Anish Kapoor or an associate of Anish Kapoor. To the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, this paint will not make its way into the hands of Anish Kapoor." And it has a little check box next to it where it does like the checking if you're not a robot thing that you have to check.
that's great.
So
That's funny.
his website is culturehustleusa.com. I think that if you're like in Britain or something, it's just regular Culture Hustle. But whenever I went on there, it said Culture Hustle USA, likely because we are in the United States. His products that he offers now are Black 2.0 and 3.0, Black Mirror Beta, which is the shiniest, most reflectable, brushable black paint. So it's, instead of it absorbing light, it reflects a ton of light.
Interesting.
But it's still
As a
black paint. Then there's Blink, the blackest black ink.
I get it.
Yeah.
Ink.
And
yeah.
then there's
Clever.
White 2.0, which doesn't, like, if you look at it from pictures, it doesn't have, like, shadows on it. If you paint it on a 3D surface, it just looks, like, completely white because it reflects so much light. And then Mirror, which I really want to try one day. It's the world's mirroriest mirror chrome paint. And you paint it on stuff, and you can literally, like, see your face in it.
That's so cool.
Right.
How'd you do that?
I have no idea.
I'll look this up.
Right?
I gotta ask a chemist.
Right. His paints are more expensive, but because it's for activism, I don't really care.
Well, it makes sense because I highly doubt that that's cheap to make.
Right.
Like,
And they don't come in like itty bitty things. They're like this big from what I can gather, so it's like a decent amount of paint. You know. And they have different sizes of the Black 3.0 because they're kind of moving out their stock of Black 2.0 and they're trying to just have the Black 3.0.
Gotcha.
So you can get Black 2.0 still if you want to try the other one. I don't see a difference in them, but I know that there's a difference.
You're like, I know it's there, I just don't know what it is.
And then there's Lit, which is the world's glowiest glow pigment, and it comes in like a bunch of different colors. They have like pink, green, blue, yellow.
So like almost true neon.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
definitely really bright glow paint. Unicorn Milk, which is a pearlescent top coat. So like, you know how you put like clear glaze on paintings? It makes it look like pearlescent on there instead of just being clear. And then Diamond Dust, which is the glitter dust that we talked about.
So much fun.
So in case you're wondering what pigments are materials that are completely or nearly insoluble in water, which is why you mix them with like paints, because usually for paints you use like eggs as a medium or, you know, different kinds of like gel-like substances. It depends on what kind of paint you're using. And pigments are normally inorganic compounds, whereas dyes are usually made out of organic compounds. Yeah.
Okay.
And prehistoric and historically valued pigments, just for, you know, y'all's reference, they include ochre, charcoal, and lapis lazuli. So those are three things that are considered pigments, because if you grind them up, they like create like a lot of color in a medium.
I did not know that
But
about
they're
lapis.
but they're inorganic. So like whenever you're thinking about dyes, you think about organic materials being used for it, whereas pigments, which are the powders that you often mix in with paint, those are usually made from the inorganic.
Huh.
Which that was something that I found really interesting because I was like, I kept seeing the word pigment and I'm like, what is pigment? You know?
Interesting. I did not know that.
So technically you can use dyes for like paint, but it's just not necessarily always used because then that's when the paint changes color over time because it's
That
used
makes
with organic
sense.
material. Which is also why dyes fade over time because it's from organic material. My mind was blown
so
when I made
much
that
sense.
connection.
That makes a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. But that is my art education for the day on how I love the art community sometimes because when we band together can be super petty.
So petty. Although, I mean,
I don't think it's necessarily petty though with this. It's more
think
of you said we can't have this, so now you can't
Yeah.
have what we have.
I think it's a little petty, but I think Anish is probably the most petty out of all of it from keeping it.
Right, because it would be different if he argued like, well, I don't think anyone else is going to be able to afford this, but that's not what he's arguing. He's just like, well, I have this vision, so I don't want anyone else to have it.
I'm surprised he doesn't sell it. That's weird. That's so weird.
I don't know. I definitely don't understand it.
Was he trying to hope to get more people into like his studio or something?
I don't think so, because he mainly just makes like installments for museums and stuff. He makes like really expensive, like steel made like sculptures and stuff, is what he mainly does. Because almost everything he makes is made out of steel.
So he's not even like a real like. So he doesn't. I'm so sorry. I really need to put my phone back in the back. Anyway, so he does sculptures. He's not really a painter. I realize that like sculpting you can still use paints and stuff like that, but that's not his main.
Yeah, no, his main medium is just sculpture.
Oh my gosh, stop.
His main medium is just sculpture. Although I don't know if he's used this Vanta Black in his sculptures. That was one thing I didn't think of to like look up. But I know that it's really the moral of the story is just that he's the only one that can use it, even if it is used in his sculptures, which is kind of awful because he doesn't.
To hope to have more money brought into him because he's the only one to have it. So he's hoping that people would pay him more since he's the only one that can have it.
I don't think so. I really do think it's just from what I've read whenever I see articles and like interviews from him, it just seems like he has a very interesting worldview, I will say, when it comes to like how he creates the sculptures. Like if like the point of the bean sculptures that you're looking at it and you're seeing everyone at the same time, that's all reflected, in the sculpture
and everything,
which is really interesting. But with that worldview, I wonder if it inflated his ego to the point where he's like, well, no one else is going to understand my perspective, so I need to have a hold of this so that I can create my perspective with it. If that makes sense. I don't understand it because I'm the person where I'm like, I want everyone to have access to everything if you can pay for it. I'm not expecting you to lower a cost whenever it costs a certain amount to make something. So
it should be accessible.
Because it's manufactured by the military, so I'm pretty sure it's just like a man-made pigment because it's carbon fibers that are like shaved essentially to a certain shape. I don't know. I don't understand how they do that. That's above like my understanding of like chemistry and all that.
Yeah, it's definitely. They got a professional.
But if it's
military, so
right, but if it's used for military research, then it's got to be like synthetic.
Most likely, yeah.
That was our story for today. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting one. I don't know how I feel about it, but yes, thank you for listening. If you can like, if you can comment, we'd love to hear it. Nicole loves memes.
Yes,
she has said so.
I do.
Please go ahead, put all the memes you want, and I like jokes. That's about it.
Put a knock-knock joke in the comments, and we'll like it if it's a good knock-knock joke.
It's a good knock-knock joke. Yes, absolutely. We'll see you guys next time, hopefully. So, that's it for today.
All right, bye.